Okay, so for some reason my WoW window capture isn't working, so you're just gonna have to deal with it like this. I hope you can see everything. Um, but yeah, so here's WeakAura's, so this is, I mean, you figured some of this out already, obviously, but, um, so you start with like whatever you want. So like, if you want text, you would start with text. If you want a texture, you start with texture. If you want that texture to change as it goes, as like during a duration, so like, you want your arcane whatever proc to change as it goes down or whatever, do that. Um, and then you can also group auras, okay? So grouping just so a normal group basically just lets you configure, like set the location of different weak auras in relation to each other. Um, and then when you move the group, they all move at once, right? A dynamic group, though, this is how you can make like lists of things that they change the location of people in the list. Um, that's with dynamic groups. You can do other stuff too. Um, I'm not sure what you would use an empty base region for. An icon. This just shows a spell icon. Um, and you can put a cooldown display on it. And then progress bar is basically a progress texture, except it's only a bar. Um, shit, I can't even remember like what I was gonna show you. I guess we'll start with a text. So there's there's a bunch. If you click on this, you can see what these different things are, right? And so you can actually track more than one buff in or debuff or whatever um, in these, and then you might have, so like right now I only have one trigger one, but if I add a second trigger, now if you look in here, there's trigger 2 stuff, right? So now there's %2.p. %p is by default shows the information from the trigger selected via dynamic information. Yeah, so I'm not sure how it would pick in this situation with 2 triggers, like if you put %p, which is the progress. But anyway, and then you can also, if you want to add like these things into your text, you can do that. So we're going to keep this, and you can see here on the screen in the middle, there's this display, right? So you can turn this display on and off with this view right here, right? So I turned it off, and now you can't see the countdown anymore. Turn it back on, you can see the countdown. I guess you can still see the box, which is nice. I think you can turn off showing the box too, but the box only shows up when you're um, like when you're moving stuff. So you can see this line of locks, right? Um, that just shows you where the thing is. And then you can click the lock, I think. Click the lock, no. Click the lock. And now oh no. I don't know why it's a lock. I don't think it should be. But you can see when you're holding down on it, it shows you in the middle here. just pointed to the screen, but it's right above this person's head now, right above this mount's head. Okay. You can see those are the actual coordinates, screen coordinates of the element, right? And so these lines are essentially 0, but it's like whenever any of the control is near the line, right? So like this is, oh, right. Also, where is it? Position and side settings. You can change what it's anchored to. So you can anchor it to the screen or a slash parent group, which would be the parent group, or if there isn't a parent group, the screen. You can select a frame, which like everything on this screen is a frame. Okay, so you can select a specific frame. Unit frames are, this is a unit. Well, unit frames are usually like your players and stuff, but you can anchor things to unit frames. So like, you know, if you want to display something like your ally has a dispellable buff or something, you know, you would want to show that, you want to anchor that to the unit frame of that person. You can do it to nameplates, and you can do it to mouse cursor. So like if you want something to show up on your mouse, you can do it to the mouse cursor. I don't even know. Oh, custom lets you define Lua, a Lua function that selects the anchor. Okay, but that's like, you probably use. I'm not even sure when you would use that, honestly. Maybe, I don't know, like you dynamically in a different add-on. Oh yeah, I guess like if you wanted to add it to, if you wanted to add WeakAuras to a separate add-on, you'd need a custom anchor then, because that's how you would select that. That would be probably the best way to select the frame for from the other add-on. Sorry, I'm taking a drink real quick. Alright. The screen parent groups normally what you want to select. And then this frame strata. So tooltip is the topmost thing. Like tooltip will display over everything else. Okay. Full screen dialogues will display under tooltips. Full screen will display under full screen dialogues. Dialogues display under full screen, so on and so forth, all the way down to background. Okay. So if, for example, you know, inherited just means it takes it from whatever its parent is. So in the screen case, I think screen is background, and so like anything else would show over it. But like the parent group could be, you know, whatever. And then you can just you can change which part of so this left thing is your element, right? So this says I want the top left anchor of the element to anchor to the middle of the screen. So the middle of the screen is going to be my origin, and the top left of the box is going to be the XY coordinate for the box. You'll notice like the X offset and Y offset, as I change this, those are going to change. So, or no, the box is going to move instead. The box is moving. So, you know, we can do center, and then like, let's say we do it to the top of the screen. Well, that's off screen. That's nice. That's new. I haven't seen that. But usually I leave it to anchor to the middle of the screen. But I really, like, this is entirely up to you. You can change the background of the... Oh, this is a sub-element, right? So this background here is the color here, like that, or I think this is a transparent background because we set the text color here. And then you can set font flags and stuff. Outline and shadow, color with offset 1 over -1 and aligned left. I don't even know what that means. Oh, okay. It's the offset. 1 over -1 as x and y. Got it. Okay. And you can set it so that it'll show a tooltip when you mouse over it. And then you have to define the tooltip. So I think you can add... I don't know how you do define the tooltip. But yeah. Then you have to add a trigger. I'm gonna take off trigger 2 here. There's so many different kinds of triggers. So combat log, you can monitor the combat log. Combat log has every event in combat from you, from your enemies, from other players, all that. Custom allows you to write a Lua function. You could just write, return true or whatever, and then it would always be active if you wanted. There's easier ways to do that, but you can have it trigger based on cooldown progress of an item that's in your backpack or equipped on your character. Other add-on. Oh, it has one set up from other add-ons that it automatically works with. That's nice. Other events. So this lets you choose... Oh, it only lets you choose a few events. So if you wanted to activate off of other events, you'd have to go with custom. And you can see with custom, you get quite a bit of... So there's the trigger, but then because in the display, well, because it's custom, it doesn't have them right now. But so there's progress total, name, icon, stacks, custom. Oh, and then yeah, show a % sign. But so you have to, the icon and name, you have to put in the stacks. It's like you can just return 0 for this, like return 0, whatever, But yeah, so that's like custom. Player unit info. This is where you get health and stuff. And this is how you can check for particular names and classes, stuff like that. You can check for if something has a raid mark, if it's hostile or friendly. There's no neutral there, that's unfortunate. Fetch absorb. There are some new options in retail that aren't in the older versions that I've used. Like these are new. And then you can choose, so like this is just health stuff. but you can choose. There's so many different things, you know. So like if you don't have mana, if you have rage or something, that's alternate or energy, or runes or combo points, stuff like that. That's alternate power. Cast, that would be if you're casting something. So it'd be you can check your stats, check your class and spec. So like, you know, if you only want a dungeon as a tank, like you can have it when you walk into a dungeon and you aren't spec'd as a tank, you can have it do something. Or when you click on someone or when you see an opponent that has, I don't know if you can do this with opponent. Doesn't look like it. Looks like you can only do yours. Oh, that just turned it into a list. Or that just turned it into a multi-select instead of a drop-down. That's nice, at least. Conditions. Oh, right. So, like, if you're resting or, you know, PvP flagged in combat, stuff like that. Instance size type, difficulty, and type. Interesting. Oh, instance type is like raid and stuff. Um, if you're crowd controlled, this is, you can do if you've discovered different types of currency, or if you haven't discovered them, or whatever. You know, like, there's so much different. So like evoker. Oh, I guess they moved Death Knight runes and essence and out of alternate power. Power. This will be. Wait. Why? What's alternate power then? I'm so confused. Whatever. Yeah. You can do things based off your pet behavior, spec, swing timer stuff, talents, your threat situation. You can do a range check, but like it says, note, this trigger type estimates the range of the hitbox of a unit. The actual range of a friendly player is usually 1 yard more, and range checking capabilities depend on your current class and known abilities, as well as the type of unit being checked. So because you have certain spells available with certain ranges, it basically like goes through different spells of different ranges and checks if they're castable, if they're within range. And if they are, then it knows that it's, if they aren't, then it knows that it's farther than that, and if they are, then it knows that it's closer than that, right? And so then it uses that to narrow down the range. But you have different spells available that you can cast on friendly units and harmful units, and then miscellaneous units. So, yeah, that's, and you can have it trigger on like if the distance is a certain amount, or if you just want to display. So like, oh right, if you just want, so the reason like some of these, like why this distance here is selectable, like you'd think, well, this is a trigger, like why would you not want to know if it's less than or equal than or greater than or equal to a certain distance? Well, let's say you just want to know how far away from you your pet is. You make this trigger, and then you can get the range. the minimum estimate and the maximum estimate of your pet range, right? And then you can put that in your text. So you can only get information from your triggers, and so that's why you might add triggers that don't actually like quote unquote trigger anything. They're just there for information. Then you have conditions, and you have to add a condition, I think. Um, so you could have conditions. Um, you only wanted to show in combat. No, you don't have to have these. But with conditions, you can do things like change the font size, or change where it's positioned, or run custom code, or run a sound. This is how you do sound. Um, like if you want that sound. Oh, I don't. I hope I know I don't have game sound on. But yeah, so like that's how you get it to play sounds. And you can loop it. If you loop it, you can set the repeat amount, and then you also would need to add a condition that turns it off. So then you would need a condition like, attackable, or here a condition in combat false sound stop, right? Otherwise, this is going to loop forever. Just an example. Actions generally don't need to worry about this stuff, but you could have it load. So like this load changes when you can see loaded, standby, and not loaded. This changes when the aura is loaded. So like if you just want to disable it, never, you know, it's never loaded. Okay. If we only want to load it or if we only want it loaded in combat, or if we only want it loaded out of combat, if we only want to load it when we're alive or not alive, etc., etc. You can load things when you're a certain class or spec. You can, so like I'd have ones that um, were only active on my shaman and stuff like that, or I'd have ones that were only active on certain characters, on certain realms, because like that might be my character that I use to sell stuff or whatever. You can set it to load only in a zone, or only when you have certain equipment on. Custom options. This is pretty cool. So if you're making a weak aura for other people, or if you're making a weak aura for yourself and you just want to be able to change stuff, you can add options. So first you have to enter author mode like I just did, and that lets you add the options, okay? And you have to check, like, pick an option type. So in this case, we're just going to pick a toggle, okay? And then you give it a display name and a key. The key is what you use to refer to it in code, and the display name is what it shows in user mode, right? You can set up a tooltip for it, so when they mouse over it, it gives them some more information, and then you can set the default and its size, okay? So like this will have toggle option 1 false. For option 2, we'll make it a description, okay? So now they're um, where does it have the name of the? What the hell? Oh, here's option one. Why isn't it showing me the right. Description lets you add a description. So, like, you can do, I don't know if you saw this option group. You can set up an option group and then have a description that describes what that option group is. Or instead of a tooltip, you can have a description before an option that describes what the option is. Stuff like that. Media. Um, this lets you. It's the like the audio list picker basically. Toggle list is what it sounds like. It's a toggle, but it's a list. Oh, I guess for lists. So here down here, you can add the values in here. So this is what the list looks like. And then these are the values. So like I'll add val2 here. Enter for okay. Now you can see it adds val2, right? And you can change the width. Oh, but that's the width of these. I thought you could change, like make it so that they were like just one row, but I don't see that right now, so I'm not sure that you can. String, this is just, you know, like if you want them to enter a string. Separator, this just adds a separation between, so like you can see how before there was only one line, this line, now there's this line as well, that's the separator. Numbers is a string, but it's stored as a number, so you can use it as a number without having to convert it to a number. And you don't have to worry about them putting something other than a number in there. And I think you can even set, yeah, you can set the min and the max on number too. Oh, and, oh, right. And you can set step size, and it has like an up and a down button. I thought it had an up and a down button. Maybe I need to enable that. What's the point of this step size? Huh, no, that's the slider. The slider is basically the 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 a number, but it gives you a slider to select and enter instead of, and you can see it goes by the step size, so like each one, it goes down by 0.5 and it goes up by 0.5 or 0.05, sorry. And you can see the, like, it has some, oh, I thought it had more of a, sorry, someone just made a 67-yard field goal in this NFL game, which is second longest field goal in NFL history, and it would have been the longest in NFL history if not for, I believe, a 68-yard kick that was made earlier this season. So, yeah. Space is like a separator, except there's nothing. It doesn't have a bar, right? It's just a space. Let me add a few more. Let me add a here. Let me make this one a separator, and then we go to space, and we'll add another separator. Okay. So separator, space separator. Um, yeah. And then information you can set, like the description of the weak aura. You can set the name of it and the URL where to download it. And this stuff is used when if you share this weak aura on Wago, or Wago, I don't know. I say it Wago, the WAGO site, the weak aura's website or whatever. And you can see interesting. I'm not sure why you would do this, send fake events instead of status events. But like you might have Lua errors. Like I can imagine you having like uninitialized variable errors or something like that when you open your options. And so you can set it to ignore Lua errors, but only on options. And then you can enable debug logs, which gives you more. It lets you, in your custom code, it lets you use the debug print function, which prints out debug information, which can be very useful. So yeah, that's a text one. So let's make another new one, and you can import here, and it just imports as a string is what you import. And you can see once I'm not editing that WeakAura anymore, it no longer shows because I don't have any triggers or anything set up for it that display it. Well, actually, it's because it's not checking any information. So we'll do aura. What is this? Sign of the warrior. On myself. It's a buff. These are filters basically. So like if you wanted to only activate it after at a certain stat count, or with a certain amount of time remaining, or with a certain amount of total time, or if the buff is stealable or not stealable, or if it's a boss debuff or if it isn't, or if it was cast by a player or if it wasn't, or if it's came from you or if it didn't come from you. Right. So you can do this. This is new, I think. At least the tooltip pattern match. That's sweet. So you can enter a pattern, a Lua pattern, which is very similar to a regex but slightly different. And then it'll only do it if the tooltip matches that. You can do. Oh, nice. You can do based on the, or you can roll stuff in raid marks. But anyway, so we're gonna do show on aura found, and we don't want to autoclone. So autoclone, what this would do is it would show a new aura. So like let's say it's like a buff that I can have multiple times. It would show a different one of these for each one of those buffs, which can be super useful if like each one has a different amount of time remaining and stuff like that. But or if you have like if you aren't looking for a specific
off the phone or whatever you're doing.
or you can have it you know, like if you have it do a debuff type and you want it to show diseases, you might want to show it, you might want to show every disease, right? So anyway, we'll go with names. Sign of the warrior. Okay, so now when I get a new aura, you can see it shows this. I don't know. Oh, let me change what it's displaying since this doesn't have a progress. 1.caster name. Okay. See hello, and then it doesn't know what the caster name is because it hasn't. This is just the thing, right? New aura, hello, and now it says hello Cerise because I have it. But I don't want to take that off or that off or that off. Oh, I'll just switch my. I can switch my flights up. Well, you know how it works, kind of more or less. I think. I don't know. If you have any specific questions, ask me, and I can make another one of these. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. But my dad wants me to go do the tree now. So we're gonna go take the tree down. So I will talk to you later.